Welcome to Ballers and Briefs on the Thanksgiving Eve edition, week 12. Thanks for hanging out with us for 12 straight weeks. Can you guys believe it's 12 straight weeks? We're going straight into Thanksgiving.
Damn, time's flying.
I am so at a loss at this point. Like, we've been going this long, so appreciate everybody that's hanging out with us. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. A little bit of Week 11 recap and straight into Thanksgiving games tomorrow and Black Friday's showdown between the Dolphins and them Jets. So, first thoughts. Trevor Lawrence showed up. I want to say it's loud enough for the people in the back. Trevor Lawrence showed up. Over 30 points. Thank you, Trevor Lawrence. Putting it on my man down here. Putting it on my man.
Definitely was looking for that to show up. I think we all, as a Jaguars fan, were definitely happy it came. It sucks a little bit because you got to roll them out a little bit in fantasy against me during that week. But if I guess I got to go down, I'll go down to a Jaguars player. I'll take that loss. If it means the Jaguars win, that's all right. I'll take the 1-for-1.
I mean, it was he just kept scoring, man, and I was like, what is this? This is not Trevor Lawrence right now. This is not what I'm watching. I mean, and so the train continues. Did not stop at the station. 7 wins going strong. And then we both reeled off wins in the 10-man league too. So mine went down to the wire though. At Jalen Hurts versus DeAndre Swift in that Kansas City game the other night, which I was just at a loss for words.
Sometimes it comes down to that last matchup, though. Sometimes it's just the way the numbers kind of come in a little bit. You're just kind of waiting for that last matchup to kind of work its way through. But I think you're rolling out Hurts, though, right? You had Hurts and them Swift, right?
Yeah, against Swift, yeah. So it was either going to be Hurts or Stroud, and so I was like, all right, well, I got to roll with Jalen because he's just Jalen Hurts, and it's against the Chiefs, so had to do what I had to do and got the win. So I mean, I know that, and I mean, I know that you were happy. So like, we're still in the top 2, 1-2. In that league,
yeah,
sure.
Man, I'm happy in my 1-man league, but in my 12-man league, I'm just not happy. I mean, in 10-man, I'm just not happy in the 12 right now. It's been on a little bit of a losing streak a little bit, but I'm hoping now I got a little bit of a fuller roster. But some of the injuries are taking a toll. I lost Andrews, that's definitely taking a toll. So I lost my stack that I had within that on that league team. So I'm trying to work through some of that. Trying to work that waiver wire up and see what happens again. But this losing thing's not for me.
I mean, I lost him in the 10-man. Andrews myself in the 10-man league. So, I mean, it's and then, of course, lost Joe Burrow in the same game. I don't have Joe Burrow, but he's in the 12-man league. He's the one throwing the ball to Jamar Chase. So does that make Jamar Chase moot going forward? So, like, what am I doing here? So, with that being said, how did boys do in DFS on Sunday?
Pretty good. I think on Sunday, cashed everywhere. Monday, was Monday the Denver game or was Sunday night the Denver game?
Sunday night was the Denver game. Monday night was Eagles and Chiefs.
Sunday night Denver game was about to win like 20 grand again until touchdown by Russ Wilson to Cortland Sutton in the fourth quarter. If that doesn't happen, or if it's to Judy, I'd probably take down the 20K, but it's the fucking Sutton, so killed me. I think I ended up losing like $5 overall on that whole one. And then the same thing on the Eagles game. Was about to win 20 grand. And then, last minute stuff happening destroyed me. So ended up, I think, profiting a little bit on that one.
Swift hurt me bad. And that was But I mean,
it's crazy how it comes down to just one touchdown, right? You're like,
In a
damn, if
minute.
it just goes to one other player, it all buffs out and works the right way, or if he just catches that one deep pass, for 50 yards, some people I'm sure were crying when MVS dropped that touchdown because that would have made it. They would have been made men, I'm sure, a lot of people if that pass happened. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there feeling the same way.
It's usually like that. Sometimes you're either way off and you're like, dude, I just got fucking this whole
Yep.
slate wrong. And other times it's like you're like pacing in your fucking living room and you're like, oh my god, dude, if he throws this touchdown to Judy right here, I'm winning 20K, dude. Like touchdown to Judy, L Sutton. Oh man. Like they're like, no shot did it go to Sutton there because I think it went to Judy first and he dropped it or there was pass interference or something, and then it went to Sutton, and I was like,
Sutton looks like a man though. Sutton is like the Sutton that we have seen when he is at his peak. I think finally Russell Wilson trusts Courtland Sutton, and Sean Payton is drawing him up like he had done Michael Thomas in
Sutton was the captain MVP in the Nuts earlier this season, so I was like, it's got to be Judy this time. I don't think Judy or Sutton, they weren't the Nuts this week either, but just the fact that he caught that touchdown pushed him above numerous people in that game, and it changed the whole outcome of everything. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I only ever do one lineup on FanDuel. And I remember looking and I was winning like $140 on FanDuel. I was in like 15th place. And like I said, if it was Judy, I'd have won the Millie Maker on FanDuel, which might have been like $100K. And on Draftkings, first place, at one point, somebody was winning like 20,400. So I was just running the numbers. I was like, man, I think I was 3 points behind first place. And I was like, if it's Judy, I fly past everybody. If somebody's got Judy as well, are they within 3 points of first place? I don't think so. So I might be above them. And it's like, the fact that it went to Sutton, everything went down. I ended up making like $18 on FanDuel from the 100 and something I was making and losing like $5 on the Denver side. I was like, this can't be real.
I mean, I didn't do super hot this week except for during the main slate. I did something that's kind of against the grain from what we normally do. And I did main slate games, but I did a showdown in the main slate because I know the Texans. And I know that we talked Texans and Arizona was a game that we were targeting, right? So I did a showdown of Arizona and Houston. I cashed all of them. I'm so pissed at myself that I didn't put myself in like a single entry tournament or even a 20 max tournament in the showdown, because in all of my lineups, I only played in cash, right? But the cash lineup and obviously in a showdown is a little bit more likely to put you over the top, right? And especially it's chalk, right? So in every one of my lineups, I took first in everything. And head-to-heads, double-ups, I mean, all of them, right? And I beat the second place guy by 10 points in every lineup. And I know people, when they saw my lineup, they're like, this dude run Greg Dortch as his captain in a showdown? And I'm like, you're damn right I ran Greg Dortch as a fucking captain when I saw
you did that in cash is crazy.
And well, it was one because it was what affordable, because I went affordable, right? And I went really chalky, right? So I had CJ, Kyler, Tank Dell, Singletary, and McBride. So McBride 57% owned, Singletary 50%, 57% owned, Tank 39%, Kyler 82%, and CJ 73%. Okay.
I mean, that's okay for GPP, but cash lineup should have probably had Stroud as captain or Murray as captain. And that's more what or Singletary because of his ownership and he's a running back. But Dortch as captain, that's absolutely GPP play, and you ran.
It was 4%.
Yeah, that's absolutely GPP.
And so I ran it that way, in cash and beat people with 10 points plus in every damn thing, and I'm punching myself. I was punching myself after the fact. I was like, this is definitely winning me good money, if not top money into the GPP contest. And like I'll try that shit again on Sunday and I'll get squashed. But what I'm saying is like it ended up paying off. Tank Dell and Greg Dortch paid off tremendously, you know. So that I guess that can kind of propel us into the Millie Maker. Speaking of Tank Dell, that man is officially Tank Dell now. He's no longer
officially a tank.
He's the artist formerly known as Nathaniel Dell. He is now officially Tank Dell in your programs and in your heart, says Warren Sapp says. So the guy that won first on the Millie 215.82, Brock Purdy lineup. Who would have saw that? I didn't.
I think that was one of the games I said we could target, but I didn't get a ton of Brock Purdy myself. But to be honest, the whole winning lineup was chalk except for 2 spots. Every play in it was chalk.
Yeah.
And we were actually talking about ways to get off of. I mean, Tank Dell was one of them. Tank Dell was super high owned, but I kept saying Nico Collins was wide receiver 1 and low owned. Nico Collins did not make the Millie Maker lineup, whereas Tank Dell did. So back to the well where we say sometimes you have to eat chalk. To be honest, this person, I would have never got to this lineup in the Millie Maker because it's too chalky. I mean, we talked about Singletary. He was in it. He was really high chalk. I said I would only play him in cash. I did play him in cash. He absolutely dominated. Did not expect that. I called Brian Robinson from the jump as running back play.
We came back to him because remember we were going to kind of gloss over and
I was like, Brian Robinson. Dog, he had like 9 receptions. Like with Antonio Gibson out, he is the motherfucking man back there, which I'll talk about moving into this Thanksgiving slate. But where you find super contrarian is Khalil Shakir in the Millie Maker lineup. I would have never got there in a million years. There's no way I'm going there. And then Dalton Kincaid is another one I wouldn't have got to.
The fact that he ran 2 Buffalo players without Josh Allen.
Without Josh Allen, too. That's crazy.
Play, it was interesting. It was when I was watching that play kind of unfold, it was the back of my head was like kind of, I wonder how many people were playing him because I feel like that could make a difference. And then come to find out that was one of the ones in the lineup. But just like you said, Phil, of all of the receivers that you go with,
go with him.
Even a Gabe Davis or I'm just not. I mean, but Shakir does have that boom type of potential with that speed. So I guess maybe that's what that person saw there.
But like Cody said, he ran 2 Buffalo players without Josh Allen as the QB. That's tough to fathom mentally. Like if you think the Buffalo players are going to go off, then you've got to assume Josh Allen is the one feeding the ride.
If one of them is at least not a running back, I mean, it's. I mean, of course you're going to want to carry Josh Allen, but the fact that he went Brock Purdy, right?
I don't even see
no San Francisco player.
Not a 49ers player in this lineup, dude. This is definitely got to be part of a mass entry, like where somebody's doing 20 lineups, 30 lineups, and they're crunching it, and they're just setting exposures, but they never went back and like set any rules that if I'm gonna have Purdy, has to be paired with Ayuk, or they're not making any rules. They just crunched some lineups with their exposures, entered them, went to sleep or whatever, and woke up a millionaire. Like that does not happen. You could not in a million years handcraft this lineup. And then on top of that, DJ Moore we called, Tyreek Hill we called, and Cowboys defense was obvious. Like I said, all that was chalk. I think Tyreek Hill was the highest owned player on the slate. And he didn't get you your 4 to 5x value, or he didn't get you your 5x value, but he got you almost your 4x value, which worked out because although he was the most expensive player on the slate, he also was the highest scoring wide receiver on the slate, I think. Mm-hmm. So it worked out. But literally, there's nothing I could tell people during this stream to be like, you could have did this and got there. The only thing I think this dude did was he put in some people he really liked, like Singletary he probably really liked, Brian Robinson he probably really liked, Dallas defense he really liked, Tyreek Hill he really liked, and then he had a leftover salary and was like, what do I do with it? And he looked and he was like, I kind of want somebody from the Buffalo game. Buffalo has a chance to go over. So he starts with Kincaid, and then he sees how much he has left over. And then when he starts looking at how much he's left over, he's probably weighing. He probably wanted Josh Allen, but he couldn't afford him. So he was like, who's the next best quarterback I can afford and still get another wide receiver to fill in the gap? He probably got the Purdy, scrolled through the list, and then saw some cheapy-ass players and was like, fuck it, give me Shakir because he's got that boom potential. Most likely a bust, but boom potential, and did it. That's the only way I think you get there with a handcraft. Now, like I said, this is probably a mass entry lineup where it just came out of the guy was like, I want 10% exposure to Shakir and all this, and it just crunched him one.
He had one lineup.
So he handcrafted that.
Yes.
So he handcrafted that.
One lineup because I'm looking at
That's silly for the Millie talk for you right there. And it had to have happened probably the way I just said it, where he was like, he's down to money left over after he filled in his definites that he wants, and he just filled the gaps. And he didn't even pay attention that he didn't stack Brock Purdy, because if he did, he would have grabbed somebody like Juwan Jennings instead of Shakir and been like, oh, I compare this.
So
and
you talk about
probably wasn't even paying attention.
So the second place team had 215.72 versus the first place 215.82. So the second place team had Purdy, B. Robinson Jr., Singletary, Tank, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, and he brought it back he ran two 49ers players, Kittle, Ayuk, and the Jets defense, and lost by a tenth of a point.
Well, I mean, his lineup is easier to get to, and it makes more sense. He ran a stack and a bring back, so you could see how he got there. This dude could have been one of what I just said, or he had a stack in there with Purdy, and when he didn't have enough money for another player in the lineup, he made some changes. One of those players was probably a San Francisco player, and then when he got all his lineup put in, he just hit submit and didn't even realize he ran it with no 49ers player that he took. Because I've done that before. I'll watch my score and I'm like, yeah, I got that motherfucker. And I go look at my lineup and I'm like, damn, that's the dude I took out to make room for somebody else because I couldn't afford him. And I don't really have them. So it could have been that or the first situation. But other than that, that's like very hard to get to. That lineup's extremely chalky and then super dumb at the same time. There's no shot I'm running two Buffalo players without Allen, number one. There's no shot I'm running Purdy without anybody on his team. Yeah, like, not happening.
And then your third place team had 215.08. So we know how we've seen a lot of these, like 10 points, 4 points, 6 points, separating 1, 2, and then 15 between 1 and 3. This is 8/10 of a point. These are eight.
Talking about a pass interference call or a holding call when your guy got when your guy caught the ball and there was holding and it came back, that cost that guy $1 million.
So this guy ran a Trevor Lawrence lineup. Trevor Lawrence, Rashid White, Singletary, Reek, Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley, Trey McBride, Rondell Moore, and the Cowboys defense.
The Cowboys defense was like a given, but they were expensive. So that explains, like, see, for me, one thing I always do, which I shouldn't do, is I'll reduce my defense so I can get a better player than somebody like Shakir. I'm like, man, if I just go and save myself $2,000 more on defense and punt a shitty defense, then I can get a more higher likely receiver on my team than somebody who Shakir is likely to be a zero and do better. And I don't know why I do that, because when I won the big money, I paid all the way up for defense. I had the Baltimore Ravens when I won all that money, and they were the highest, most expensive owned defense. And it's starting to look like, at least this season and following that trend, that locking in an expensive defense is worth it, because they are guaranteeing you the positive outcome on the defensive side. The only problem is you get screwed when a low, cheap defense scores the same as them or more, and they were fucking 2,500 and Dallas was 4,500. What it do, Chandler? And I mean, that could take us right into the Thanksgiving slate, especially when you're talking about defense, because Dallas defense is playing again in this slate, another division rival and another spot that they're projected.
A high-owned defense that we saw. High-owned defense that we saw this weekend was the Washington Commanders and Tommy DeVito. I still live at home. Tommy DeVito. Mom makes me peanut butter sandwiches and makes my bed for me. And I'm a millionaire playing for the New York Giants. Out there sized them up. I mean, he just made them look like garbage. I'm like, Ron Rivera, it's time to pack your bags and get the hell out, dog. Like, literally, you got beat by kindergarten.
I would like to say, though, the Redskins definitely played Dallas better than the other two teams in the division. Doesn't mean that, Dallas won't chop them to pieces, but I do like this game from the Redskins side more than I do from the Dallas side. Since we're going to talk about it, the Dallas side is very chalky. You just saw a Millie Maker win with a chalky lineup, so don't let me deter you. But CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are probably your two highest owned players. I know Dak Prescott is. But something to note is Sam Howell's throwing the ball like 40 to 50 times a game. And if he has to do that, it's going to be in the Dallas game. Dallas is going to be scoring, right? They're projected to dominate. He's going to have to throw 50 times. And he's throwing 50 times in games he doesn't have to. They could be running. Look at Brian Robinson had 9 receptions last game. That's why I got 20 points. Like, that's 9 points right there. Not counting any yards off of any of those receptions, not counting any of his rushing yards, any of that stuff. So I prefer Sam Howell and the Redskins side of this game more than I do the Dallas side.
You want to start with that one, or you want to start with the game that's first, Green Bay and Detroit is the first
one? Well, we could start with that one since we ran into it, and then we could go.
Okay.
Because this is the 4 o'clock game. 4 o'clock game. So yeah, it's kind of out of order, but we'll start with them since we're in there. But that makes me like. I can
go to the. I can give you the injuries really quick.
Yeah, do that.
So, Tony G is our artist formerly known as Antonio Gibson. I call him Tony G. So most people don't know who I'm talking about. He's still questionable with the injury that kept him out last week, and questionable for the Cowboys is Rico Dowdle. He is questionable. So still with that ankle injury that kept him out. Chandler, pay attention. Your flex question. Brad, Zay, worth a flex? I mean, I'm looking at 2-2 in this because of Cooper Kupp being partially hobbled, but that's just me.
It's a tough one a little bit. Zay hasn't had he's still kind of coming back from that injury.
I don't know nothing about that slate right now. That's the main slate.
Yeah. Let's table that question. Let's table that question since none of them people play on tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah, we'll get
Bring it back on Saturday. Bring it back on Saturday, and I will tell you the answer to that question. I promise. Come back on Saturday, and we will talk about it. I promise. But I'm right now. I'm on the 2-2 train because we don't know anything about Cooper Kupp's injury right at the moment. So, table that answer.
What's Antonio Gibson's injury on this Thanksgiving slate?
Tony is a toe injury.
Yeah, is he doubtful, questionable?
Questionable right now.
Because if he stays out, that means Robinson is going to be due for another heavy workload. And I think most people are like, Dallas has a good run defense, whatever. It's not the runs I'm concerned with. It's the receptions. If my man is catching targets, Draftkings is PPR, points per reception. And if Antonio Gibson's out, that means he is the sole bulk load of the backfield.
He's
And
essentially a game time decision, is what they're saying. He's GTD.
yeah,
So
I would rather Brian Robinson because even if Tony G comes in with that type of shit, he's liable to go back out. Happy Thanksgiving, Chandler.
thanks,
Appreciate it.
Chandler.
But
Catch you on Saturday. Come back.
Brian Robinson, I'm probably going too heavy on him on Thanksgiving slate. I'm not gonna lie. He's one of the lowest owned running backs when it comes to starters on this slate, and there's reasons why I don't like some of the other ones way above him that most people probably do like or they're thinking about liking. So keep the eye on Antonio G, but if he's game time decision, he's likely to be on a snap count, which would still mean that Brian Robinson sees a bulk of everything.
I got thoughts about that, George.
I do too.
I have an answer.
I'm gonna say it's like Charbonnet 100%, and I'm full fading him on this slate if that helps any answer.
Yeah, so no running. Well, I mean,
I'm full fading him
against the
49ers. Full fading him. One was his ownership, which I saw to be high.
30 over 30%.
I gotta refresh my shit. Yeah, it's high last I looked, so that's the first thing. The second thing is he ain't doing shit. So
well, there's no Kenneth Walker. So
I know that there hasn't been Kenny Walker eating into his shit.
I'm just saying there's no Kenneth Walker whatsoever. He's number 1 on the depth chart this week.
Correct.
That's why there's such a high.
Plus, I've been following some big time bettors, big time winners, and they're all taking the props on the under for him across the board. Under receiving yards, under rush yards, under receptions.
I think it's one of the props is they're rushing 115 plus yards is one I saw yesterday.
Well, it's you're playing against a solid ass San Francisco defense, especially against the run. I would say that is terrible for the ownership he's getting. I gotta adjust my slate. Hold on. Afternoon, Thursday. Here it is. All right. So now I can see some ownerships. But the first thing was his ownership. He's the third highest owned running back against a solid ass defense. I think it's in Seattle too, right? So it's in Seattle. I don't think the weather is gonna be that great. Whereas you got the Dallas game that's gonna be in a dome, and I think the Detroit game is. So you have weather issues in that Seattle game. I'm not a big Warren fan, but I know Cody and Brad have been all over Warren. So if that helps, Warren is definitely. I'm going to agree with them on this one.
It's hard with the non-PPR though, because Warren's the guy in a PPR, and that's what we're really focused on is finding that running back with the catching ability. But I wonder, does Charbonnet at least find a 1 yard touchdown somewhere in there, 50 yards rushing?
I think Warren has a better chance to get that touchdown than Charbonnet does. I think when y'all are saying Charbonnet, he's the sole back. Yeah, I agree. But that just means volume. That is PPR. And if this is non-PPR, then I definitely don't see Charbonnet getting in the end zone. I think this game for some reason is going to be like when I first looked at it and Purdy being the Nuts Millie Maker winner and stuff, I'm like, damn, I want some exposure to this. But Seattle just hasn't been playing good. Geno hasn't been doing good.
Well, Geno's
a solid-ass team. The weather issues, it's the last game on the slate. I just think that it's going to be a lot slower than people think and a lot more boring than people, are expecting. And I don't see Charbonnet scoring. I could be wrong, but I'm a rock Warren with that, and I don't even know who Warren is playing this week.
So,
it shows how much I'm fading Charbonnet.
So it's at Cincinnati. The Steelers game it's at Cincinnati. They have a new offensive coordinator, offensive scheme coming in because they just fired Matt Canada. I think Warren is number 1 in Pittsburgh now. I think Najee is just Najee. I wonder,
do they go back to Najee though? Because he was, from reports, one of the people that kind of stated, hey,
what the fuck is going on?
Getting the ball. So
I see it like a Pollard Zeke situation where Zeke was in front,
situation.
and then they just rotated him, and now Warren's going to be in the front, and Najee will be behind him, and then on the offseason, maybe they trade Najee like they did Zeke for Dallas. So I see it following that same trend.
I don't know, man. I think that I don't think you go wrong with either one of them in non-PPR for the simple fact of the matter is they both are number ones right now. I think Warren is number one. Like, I have him in half PPR, and I think that he has ability to score. He's going to get the ball. I think they're going to have to jump it off. But I know Pete Carroll, and without if the fact that Geno Smith might not play, he is questionable with a right elbow problem. And what you just said, Phil, it's going to be cold. It could be windy. They're not going to throw the ball that much. And I am totally with you for DFS. He's fucking so high owned for an unknown. But for non-PPR, I just don't know if I'm playing the risk it or biscuit.
I'll tell you this: if the weather's bad and they're not going to be throwing, and Geno doesn't play, that's all the more reason that San Francisco stacks the box, and he's not going to be able to run. They're going to let this backup quarterback throw the ball. They're not gonna, and they're going to be behind, right? San Francisco is projected to win this game. The spread is like 7. It's high, especially considering in Seattle with the 12th man and the weather. If you expect San Francisco to be in the lead, they're not running the ball. They're passing the ball. Somebody like Lockett, might be a good play because Metcalf is getting more ownership. But, I don't see this being a Charbonnet type game. I don't think he's a good running back to begin with at all. Now, if this was Kenneth Walker in here, he was my lock of the week. I know he makes shit happen, but I don't think this dude make shit happen, especially against 49ers. He might even fuck everybody's lineup up with some fumbles or an injury early, and then DJ Dallas comes in and, gets that 1-yard goal line rush that Brad was talking about, and then everybody's like, oh, fuck, plays DJ Dallas. And you look, the guy in the Millie Maker got DJ Dallas in there, and you're like, what the fuck? That's what that is.
You're right, though. It's a 1-yard touchdown out there, I will say that. Definitely for Seattle, but sometimes be careful too with those division matchups, man. Sometimes they look pretty on paper. And
they're both divisional. They're both divisional matchups, man.
Yeah.
Then keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And with a backup quarterback for Cincinnati, Jake Browning, and this getting back to smash mouth football, supposedly for the Steelers, it could be Jalen Warren toting it all game. Or Najee. So you got to weigh that. Yeah. I don't like either. I mean, I don't dislike either one. Obviously, Phil is full fade on Charbonnet, and Brad and I have both been on Warren all season. So it's really like
watch me full fade Charbonnet, and he gets like 3 touchdowns.
It's risk it. It's quantity. It's quantity with Warren. We know he's a known quantity, right? But this is a new offense, supposedly. And everything that I've been reading and listening to and everything, people that have played for this offensive guy, what's his name? Dan Orlovsky, right? Dan Orlovsky for the quarterback guy on ESPN. I was watching Pat McAfee show yesterday when they fired Matt Canada. And they were talking about how this new person, they have an offensive coordinator and somebody that calls the plays. It's not a one-to-one thing. So there's 2 people involved.
Isn't Burrow out for the season?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All the more reason that Steelers don't have to air the ball out to play from behind and that they can focus on their run game.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's quantity. I mean, we know there's a quantity there. And then Charbonnet is fucking risk it for the biscuit. So, like, if you need a blow up, and you know that it's like you want it, risk it. It's risky play is Charbonnet. Quantity play is Warren. That's just rough. That's how it is. And we've seen your lineup a couple different times, and man, I think that the quality play is probably where you need to go. Warren.
My man Warren.
So that being said, I guess we kind of just all on the Warren boat here, but there is a 1 yard rushing touchdown out there to be found somewhere.
And I've definitely been wrong before, so Charbonnet could break the slate, and I'll just be broke afterwards.
And this could be we could find out that the fucking 49ers are not what we think they are again. So I don't know.
Saw that happen too. So, and like I said,
I don't think you go super wrong with either one of them, but we know quality is Warren here.
We kind of merged some games there, so it's good talk. But we can rewind and go all the way back to Green Bay, Detroit, because it's the first game, and then we'll just retouch on those other two games we just talked about.
I mean, it's 47. It's 47 over under. It's in Detroit.
Pretty high. Pretty high for a Green Bay game. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, they just saw what Jordan Love did last week,
and Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed popping.
No Aaron Jones.
Sneak play.
Finally out of the fucking picture. I don't have to listen to this shit anymore.
And A.J. Dillon's had a couple of those games this year, and he ain't do shit with it. He's been a solo backfield guy and didn't do shit.
It feels like you want to get a little different, especially on the Green Bay side. I think on the Detroit side,
so
you go chalky. Of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can't go wrong with that guy.
I think Brad's right.
You want to get a little different. Maybe Jameson decides to wake up. Yeah,
he got a touchdown last week. You called it. You spoke it into existence.
He's getting more play than Reynolds, which is crazy because Reynolds was the guy in the beginning.
The first round draft pick that they brought him in for.
I just don't know why he's overriding Reynolds instead of like Khalif Raymond. Like
speed.
Yeah, but he should just take Khalif Raymond's spot, not Reynolds. Reynolds was outshining Amon-Ra St. Brown for like 3 straight weeks, and he was half the salary. And then
we've seen this though. We've seen this with Josh Reynolds before. Like, remember when he was on the Rams? He did this shit. He did the same shit. People would come in, get all over Cooper Kupp or all over Robert Woods when they were there together. Josh Reynolds was the third guy. He'd come in and shit on everybody for 3 weeks straight, and then he would fucking disappear for the rest of the season. I'm like,
is that his fault or the quarterback's fault? That's the question.
It's Jared Goff.
That's the same shit. But I think you got to get different on the Green Bay side.
Injury-wise for the Packers, obviously no Aaron Jones. No Josiah DeGuara, the tight end, the other tight end, is doubtful. And then they put Luke Musgrave on IR today.
Damn.
I saw that earlier. With a lacerated kidney or lacerated spleen or some shit like that.
Kraft that's gonna get the catches. My man Tommy, bet that. Tucker Kraft, he got 2 catches or something last week, went insignificant. But if you're looking for a sneaky fucking GPP play, Tucker Kraft, dude, he could get you. You saw how much they got Musgrave involved. If they start getting him involved, it looks like they're trying to, but maybe he needed some time to adapt. Maybe he's a little more paying attention to the playbook. He can get open or get them end zones. He's a big difference from Kittle, Thomas, Laporta, Ferguson, that everybody else is going to be running. You might even have to run a 2 tight end slate on this where you have somebody like Ferguson and then you flex Tucker Kraft.
So I also like the Detroit defense here. If you're looking for a defense, kind of out of all the matchups, this just feels like a real friendly one. A little bit more friendly than that Washington-Dallas, because I think Washington does have the ability to score a little bit more points, where I think Jordan Love has had a little bit tendency recently. Turn the ball over a little bit, and he's not putting up as many touchdowns as he was when he first started. It seems like the defense is starting to figure him out. But I just like that. I think that Hutchinson's starting to find himself a little bit. That defense starting to find himself from the late kind of matchup last week. So just watch out for them tomorrow from a fantasy perspective.
Jair is still questionable with a shoulder. Devondre Campbell, the other linebacker, is still questionable. A.J. Dillon is popping with a questionable tag for a groin injury too. So that just
running back.
I know they just fucking signed. They brought that Patrick. What's his name? Patrick Taylor back. He's the only one showing right now. I did see they brought in J-Rob. I think they brought in J-Rob too. But I don't.
Wow, they really
I don't
hurting
know.
him a little bit if
Yeah.
Dillon doesn't play.
Yeah.
But if he does, maybe he gets you that 1 yard touchdown.
I mean, they played earlier this season, and Detroit shit all over them. But it was a David Montgomery game. I think I don't know. I was seeing this game different, but I'm also seeing it from a contrarian side, so I'm forcing myself to think different. Obviously, the play is Detroit to win and to have a solid defense and to shit all over them. But I think, on a Thanksgiving slate, you got to find somewhere to get different. And when you do that, you got to start seeing the game from a different angle. And I actually can see this game. I can see this game where Green Bay wins. I can see
Jordan Reed. You said earlier, Phil, at the beginning, I believe.
Jordan Reed.
I think it was Jordan.
Jaden Reed.
Jaden, yeah.
So,
I like him tomorrow, just because I think they might be playing a little bit from behind, and so that gives them more options.
Well, Green Bay's like stout against the pass, and they're shit against the run. Well, now you have Gibbs in this game, where Gibbs wasn't a factor earlier in the season. So you have Gibbs and Montgomery now splitting a backfield, and Montgomery chewed through, Green Bay last time. But if you're looking to get different, then that's a way to get off of Amon-Ra. It's also a way to get off of the pass catchers for Detroit, and then focus the pass catchers for Green Bay, because they're playing from behind, because they're getting run all over, and they're always playing from behind. Then Jaden Reed, Dobbs with a stack with Jordan Love has low ownership tomorrow and high upside. And even the fucking Tucker Kraft. I mean, I don't know how much I'll have of him, but I feel like you need to have exposure to him tomorrow, especially if you're trying to get different.
I mean, I don't dislike. And I know you just said you want to get different off of Amon-Ra for the Lions. I am going. I just feel I just have this deep spot in my guts that David Montgomery is still not going to go anywhere. I know this is supposedly the Jahmyr Gibbs show now, but Monty still got in the end zone against the Bears, right? And I didn't think he was at first. I was like, oh God, he's just not gonna do it. But I mean, I have this feeling that Jahmyr Gibbs, even though he's only showing like 24% ownership right now, I think it's gonna jump tomorrow. I think it does jump tomorrow. I think it's significantly higher than that. And I think Monty's probably lower than what he's showing now, just because I feel like people are kind of transitioning off of Monty and forgetting about him.
Neck and neck right now.
So so I'm saying they're right around 23, 22%. And
that's what I'm talking about. You can get different just by going different. Like Brian Robinson is already different than their exposures. Like you can look at other games, and then you can eat chalk in better situations. Like CMC, it's the highest owned, but he should have a field day against Seattle. So,
and he's not 9,000. He's only 8,700 tomorrow.
Yeah, he's not over the 9K mark anymore. Plus, like you just said, you got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They're both coming in at like 23% ownership. One's probably going to go up more. It's probably Gibbs. He's going to go up to probably 30%. But do you really want to trust rostering one of those running backs at that ownership that is likely to be splitting? Because David Montgomery shit all over Green Bay earlier this season. And Gibbs comes out getting the bulk role, and he isn't. They're going to put David Montgomery in to see if he has that touch against them. Yeah. Next thing you know, they got this split backfield going on, and you're like, they both with like 13 fantasy points. That's not going to win you a tournament tomorrow.
Something I know we're kind of stuck more on this game, but like you're looking at running backs. I don't know. I just don't know if I trust A.J. Dillon tomorrow with the fact of if he's dealing with a groin injury. Again, we always talk about groin injuries. A groin injury is a groin injury is a groin injury. And I don't know.
They just brought in like Patrick Taylor too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And James Robinson, the former Jag, former Giant, former Jet.
Oh shit! I didn't know they brought in James Robinson.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So
I don't trust AJ Dillon either.
I agree with that. With no Aaron Jones, even when AJ Dillon has been the guy with no Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon's not been that guy, right? Like he's not
correct. He's not showed
me enough. He's not showed me enough, I guess, is what I'm saying. Especially if we get Super Saiyan Jared Goff tomorrow, and Jared Goff comes out here and is whipping the ball all around the yard, especially if there's no Jair Alexander again. They got rid of their second best corner in Rasul Douglas.
We'll have a field day if Jair Alexander's not in.
If fucking Jair Alexander's there and he's a fucking shoulder problem. Let him fucking follow Amon-Ra of St. Brown around all fucking afternoon, and then your Jameson Williams and Josh Reynolds and Sam Laportas of the world are eating ass all day. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not – they don't have that second best corner that they did before. They got rid of Rasul Douglas, is what I'm saying, the dude that's now with the Bills. That was their second best corner. And Jair Alexander is over here as the best on their team, but he's beat up.
They got rid of him, but they're still, to this day, allowing 31 fewer yards on the pass than on average in the other teams. Like, they are still stout against the pass. But I do think that's a lot to do with Jay Alexander being on the field. His presence on the field is enough to lock down an entire side of the field. So, with that said, they have to open the run. They have to open the run to get that pass going, and they might not be able to with their splitting this backfield.
Fuck am I missing? Oh god.
Yeah.
You goof? What are you doing, bro? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Their run defense though is allowing 23, almost 24 more yards on average than the other team. So they are exploitable through the run. You saw it happen earlier this year where they exploited them through the run. I feel like that is going to be Detroit's game plan. I would not be going super heavy on Jared Goff or Amon-Ra or Jameson Williams. All these players, I wouldn't go heavy on them because they are going to stick to the game plan, which is pound the rock. Now, and normally you're like, well, why aren't you playing the running backs? Because I think it's going to be split. I think they're going to pound the rock with two running backs that are both extremely good running backs, and they're both going to get you one's going to get you 13 points, one's going to get you 18. Yeah. Is it 18 enough to win the Millie? I don't know. I don't think so. That's the problem, and I think that's why I like the Green Bay side better because they have higher upside. They are the ones who had everything to learn from earlier in the season, and Detroit didn't. Plus, it's Thanksgiving. We've seen these division rivals, like the other teams, and these games on Thanksgiving play out differently every time there's Thanksgiving. And I think it was like last year, it was like Indianapolis like upsetting the Bills or somebody crazy. And everybody was like, what the fuck was that? Like, I'm telling you, Thanksgiving is a whole new thing. And they all, it's all different. I would put all numbers aside and just focus on ownership tomorrow. And I think Green Bay, and as Brad mentioned earlier, is your get different play of the slate tomorrow. And I wouldn't go too heavy on the running backs for Detroit.
And I mean, like you said, I think the Amon-Ra, even with, and I was just looking back at who the Packers have played this season in passing. They played the Bears, the Falcons, the Saints, the Lions, obviously the Raiders, the Broncos, the Vikes.
Everybody that airs it out, and they've been
not a lot of teams. Not a lot of teams. The
Saints air it out. The Vikes air it out. Justin Fields airs it out.
It did not that much though. Like what I'm saying,
you got to say Minnesota's a 90% passing offense. The Saints have been like a 90% passing offense. Like they're shutting down those teams and staying competitive through the air is crazy. I would say Green Bay has a stout pass defense. But if Jair Alexander's not in, I change that because Amon-Ra is an elite receiver, and he's gonna expose whoever
I
comes
still
in.
think even the last time they played, he went 5 for 56 with a touchdown. So
He's still gonna have a solid game, but maybe not worth the amount. Potentially.
Yeah, it's probably not. I mean, his ownership, he's the
Giants
second
fan.
highest owned player, dude.
he's gonna be, yeah, of course.
And he cost 8,500, so he needs to essentially get you like 34, 35 points.
Well, you're not going to be able to afford him and
Five for-
C-Mac tomorrow.
5 for 52 and a touchdown is like 18 points.
Yeah.
That's not 32. It's not going to get you there. But if Jay Alexander's not in, that might be like a 12 for 90 and a touchdown or two, and that might get you there.
Yeah, he has 16.6 points in week 4.
That last, yeah. Well, it was a run fest, dude. It was Montgomery. Like 3 or 4 touchdowns, dude. It was a Montgomery show. And I think we were all over Montgomery that week too. So I think that's going to be their game plan, right? They have nothing to learn from, whereas Green Bay does.
Well, yeah, and their rushing defense is dog shit, especially if they don't have Devondre Campbell tomorrow or Rudy Ford, the other safety, the box safety. So I feel like
I think their game plan is to pound the rock, and it's just going to be split between 2 running backs. So it's hard to say lock in Gibbs or Montgomery. It'd be easier if like you get news before the game where it's like Montgomery has the flu and he's not going to play, and you're like, okay, well, lock a button, Jahmyr Gibbs tomorrow. Then would be an absolute go.
5.5 is what you see. Is that what you see, Phil? 5.5.
The spread.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see 8. Detroit Lions favored by 8.
Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah, my book has
7.5. My fault. I can't do math.
I actually will like Green Bay in this one for making it competitive. If they lose, maybe by 7, but I think it's gonna be competitive because it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving slate.
8 even on ESPN. Yeah,
they got absolutely killed earlier in the season. Like I said, they have a lot to learn from, whereas Detroit doesn't. It's always harder to repeat what you did to somebody because that team had something to watch and learn from, whereas you didn't. Everything was working. So you're not watching for mistakes you made or things you did. It all worked. You smacked them. You should do it all the time in esports gaming. Like we'd scrim teams and smack them, and then tournament time we lose and be like, what the fuck? Well, they had a whole lot of film to watch and learn from. We didn't. We were always smacking them.
Yeah, so it was the Lions beat the Bills last year on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Indy was the big upset, I think, last year. Everybody was like, what the fuck? Dude?
No, it was the Lions. I'm looking at it right now.
What was the defense? Indy.
No, the Giants and the Cowboys last year, and the Patriots and the Vikings.
What was the third game?
That was the Patriots and the Vikings. So the first game was Bills and Lions, Giants and Cowboys, and Patriots and Vikings. I think the year before, I know we played on the year, like Texas played the year before and just absolutely railroaded whoever we played.
I know that I got killed last year on Thanksgiving slate because I followed Chalk. And that
the Bills, I think, against the Lions, because the Lions actually won that game. I remember that.
And then I also lost my ass on sports bets too because I followed the Chalk. Like I did like a teaser that favored all the favorites, and it was like 2 favorites got upset, and I was like, smoked.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the Lions tomorrow. Personally, I just feel like this is exclamation point time of the season. Put it on there. Put up or shut up. Bite kneecaps, as Dan Campbell, their coach, says. I like the Lions. I would take them at 8 points, just because I don't think that the Packers they're not going anywhere. They're not winning this division. They're not going to make the playoffs. I think the Detroit Lions put the cap on them tomorrow. That's my thought. That's my thoughts on it. What about you, Brad? You said. Did you say the Packers.
I like the Detroit for the 8. I just think that running game just kind of pulls it away late, potentially leading to like a 10-point finish, a little bit over maybe. I just like Detroit a lot, man. I just think that just the momentum they got building up. The offensive line is really pushing strong, and when you get into this part of the year, the teams with really good running games start to kind of separate themselves. Because no one wants to tackle this late in the year. They're tired of hitting guys. So, again, I just kind of see a little bit of that. And, slightly rooting, actually, for Detroit. I mean, it's been down for a long time. So, kind of rooting for them a little bit to see them kind of happy for the city.
The last time they had this many wins. Last time they had 8 wins was 1962, and JFK was still the president. He didn't have 2 bullet holes in his head.
Oh, goddamn. All right. Go to the next one. Commanders at Dallas. Inside the dome.
Commanders.
In the dome. Don't got to worry about weather. Brian Robinson, I mentioned earlier, if he gets that lone backfield, you expect the same amount of
It's cold here in Texas. It's cold here in Texas.
Get that money. And I like my Curtis Samuel as usual.
Well, he got his ass ejected last week, so
I didn't have him last week. So.
I did. I went out on the limb and went away from Dotson and McLaurin, thinking that they were going to just gimmick Samuel down the field. And what's he do? Goes and gets his ass fucking ejected for pushing and shoving and shit on the sideline. And I'm like, really? You kidding me? Yeah, out of everybody.
The chalkier pick with McLaurin tomorrow. I guess I would say. I always sometimes say he's due for one. That's one of those guys that's kind of due for a big game. He usually likes to show up sometimes in those more prime time style games too, especially on like the Thanksgiving. So I would just say kind of watch out for Scary Terry tomorrow. I kind of got
Who's covering him
a little bit.
Who's covering Scary Terry?
Who is that?
Is Trayvon Diggs out?
He's on IR. He's out.
So there's just I think is it Bland?
DeJuan Bland?
Is it Bland or Curse or something like that? But not necessarily top tier receivers. And given the fact that they may be behind, again, I just like Scary Terry tomorrow. Also, watch out for is Logan Thomas playing? That guy.
Yes.
He's due is same thing. Same thing. He's due for 1, maybe even 2. Sometimes he'll sneak in. So get watch for those guys.
Tell you for a fact.
He'll wreck your league, man. I tell you what.
Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore will be on top on Scary Terry tomorrow.
He's still a solid top tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say
just again, I like the target share.
What's DeRon Bland? That DeRon Bland dude has what? He has 2 touchdowns with 4 interceptions or 4 pick sixes or something on the season. It always seems to be in the right place at the right time. I think I do like Scary Terry tomorrow over Dotson. I think I would go to Scary Terry and Curtis Samuel and let Dotson kind of just sizzle in his own goo tomorrow because I don't know, man. I'm not about Commanders wide receivers. I'm just really not. I do love Logan Thomas though. I love
Ferguson.
Fucking guy, dude.
Yeah, Ferguson's.
I love Ferguson tomorrow. If we're talking about some tight end plays, I think Ferguson's that guy. It's tough to get behind the Commandos receivers, but as I mentioned before, the way you get to them is the expectation that Howell's going to be throwing 50 plus times. And if he does, that creates volume for somebody on that team or numerous people on that team. And this PPR we're talking about, Redskins don't have to win the game for a player or 2 from their team to be in the millie maker. So you could get somebody like Curtis Samuel who gets 10 catches and it could be for 30 yards and a touchdown. And that breaks the slate because now Curtis Samuel got 20 points. Even though that was the only touchdown the Commandos scored, he got you 20 points. So I do like the receiving core. I like Scary Terry. I don't like the fact that he's going to be covered by Gilmore. That's scary. It's kind of cringe. But like a little sleeper pick in this game that some people might not be paying attention to is Jalen Tolbert. His last 3 games, the dude had 5 receptions. Just keep that in mind. He is 3,100. And if he gets you 5 receptions again, or I think he had 5 targets in the last 3 games. If he gets 5 targets or 5 receptions, that's 5 points. And if each one of them is for 10 yards, he's already got you 10 and he costs 3,100. So that's 3x value on a 3,100 player. That's huge. And if one of them is a touchdown, that's breaking the slate.
And I know people are going to be riding Dallas's nuts tomorrow because Sam Howell is the highest sacked quarterback in the league, and Micah Parsons, theoretically, him and D-Law should have a field day with that offensive line. But again, this plays as that weird division rivalry, that shit. This is not, and I'm gonna put my tinfoil NFL conspiracy theory hat tomorrow. Guess who's calling this game? Anybody want to take a guess? Fucking Tony Romo's calling this game tomorrow. So
I already don't want to watch it. I hate when that dude calls games.
So it's not a Fox game. So I don't think it was gonna be rigged by Fox, which I feel like every freaking Dallas game is rigged by Fox. This is gonna be Tony Romo crying about the Dallas Cowboys losing tomorrow.
That's all he does is bitch and complain about the Cowboys.
I love listening to Tony, not as much now with Eli and Peyton. I used to love listening to Tony Romo because he called plays out. But like now I'd much rather listen to Eli and Peyton because they make the game so much better and break it down so much better than I ever thought Tony Romo did. But I'm so glad this shit's not on Fox. Because I feel like games are so rigged when Dallas plays on Fox. But I feel like this is going to be Tony Romo crying tomorrow because I had to come leave my house, leave my kids and my wife to come watch Dallas get beat by a division rivalry tomorrow.
In our own stadium. I don't put it past it happening. There's going to be an upset tomorrow. There might be numerous upsets tomorrow. And I don't think that upset is going to be in the San Francisco-Seattle game. I think it's going to be in Green Bay or this Dallas game. We saw after Trayvon Diggs went out earlier in the season, they got absolutely shit on by somebody.
By the 49ers.
They kind of bounced back a little bit and started looking like a team that they were when he was in. But I just know that they're susceptible because that happened to them. And if anybody can do it, I think it is the Redskins. With Sam Howell throwing the ball the way he is that many times, it's liable to wear down, the defense, chasing down these receivers all the time in the backfield, that it could lead to some big plays on the Redskins side. I mean, it could also lead to a lot of turnovers, but that is the projection, is that it's a turnover type game and that Dallas destroys them. So you have to pick your lineups to be different than everybody else and to be different than what the public is viewing. And if you're doing that, you will have more success. It's like if you run Dak Prescott tomorrow and stack him with CeeDee Lamb, I promise you, if CeeDee Lamb comes out and catches a 100-yard touchdown on the first play, you're not making a lot of money. I just promise you. You're going to be sitting there with 70, 80% of the people that also open their phone and they're like, oh, CeeDee Lamb 30 points on what play? And they're like, I'm only making $10. The fuck? Because everybody did that shit. So you need to make your lineups and your predictions to fade that. And if you do that, you're running a risk. You're probably going to lose more than you're going to win. But if you win, you're not sharing the pie with nobody.
I feel like Brandon Cooks is underpriced for tomorrow. For 4,500, he is 4,500 is underpriced for the volume that we've seen him get, and the fact that this could be a landslide, what they're picking it to be, a landslide runaway type game. I feel like he's awful. He's awful underpriced. Somebody else. And we talk about, I know you guys just said Jake Ferguson, but he's the highest owned tight end tomorrow because they feel like it's going to be a runaway game. But somebody I feel like that's also underpriced and under-owned at the moment. You want to get super different on Dallas. I'm not going past. I like the Tolbert play. Maybe a Kevontae Turpin, maybe, but I'm not going past that third receiver for Dallas. I'm going to the second tight end. I'm going to fucking Luke Schoonmaker because I have seen this. He scored last week.
He does.
Schoonmaker, and he's 2,600, and he's only 6% owned. I think that
I fuck with that play.
He could be a super turdy, get super different. And this is not like this is. I don't even think that's a super hot take for a 20 max entry. It's definitely a great. I think it's definitely a great play if you're running 150 max in a deep tournament. But I don't even think it's a super hot take because if you're looking for a tight end tomorrow, there's Ferguson, Laporta, Kittle, Logan Thomas. We don't really know what Tucker Kraft's going to get with Green Bay, and then it's going to
also opens up salary for you because he's going to be cheap, right? He's going to be like 2,000, 2,500,
2,600. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that play.
And they're susceptible, right?
So that and the Seattle tight end. So somebody I follow, they said that the tight ends and the millie makers are usually at home teams. So I think it's another reason everybody likes Ferguson, but it's another reason I like Schoonmaker. He's a tight end on the home team. But so is Seattle. Rainy, windy, short passes, tight end type play.
Well, if no Geno, that makes total sense because where do as a safety, someone that has played safety, where does a quarterback go to in a short pass game?
Tight end.
Exactly. It's a tight end.
Even with Geno, I think they go there because if the weather's controlling, if the ball's wet and heavy and it's windy, you can't throw far downfield and be accurate.
He's not going to anyway because his injury is a throwing arm.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it's more reason that you think you see somebody like Noah Fant or Will Dissly. Also, somebody or people you need to
Colby Parkinson
exposure to.
Shit, 3 tight ends for Seattle that are viable plays tomorrow.
That sucks. Seattle's fucking horrible for that.
And 2 for Dallas. I mean, I think that honestly you get one touchdown for 10 yards from Schoonmaker. He's hit value at 2,600. And if you built your lineup right around him, you're going to be able to fit maybe a C-Mac or someone like that. And I don't even think Schoonmaker is he could be your first tight end, and then you're running another like a George Kittle or Sam Laporta as a tight end flex. If you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this slate is built for maybe a 2 tight end type.
I did too. I was going to say
lineup.
It is. And it also opens the door for you to get 2 expensive players. You know, if you stack in 2 tight ends, a cheaper one, and then somebody like Schoonmaker in the flex, that opens the door for you to get somebody like CMC and like a CD Lamb in the same lineup, or an Amon-Ra and a CMC. You can get 2 healthy big time players in your lineup and have a chance to break open the slate because a lot of people are not going to do the 2 tight end. They just don't. History shows that a lot of people don't do that.
But we've seen it won to Millie. We saw it.
They won it earlier this year.
3 weeks in a row, I think, or at least 2 weeks in a row, 2 tight ends.
Yeah. So I mean, this spread tomorrow is Dallas favored by 13.5. Man, it's the same thing I said last week. It's kind of low, and I liked Carolina for that reason, and they fucking covered the spread against Carolina. This is a division rival. To be honest, this is why I'm not like good at sports betting because I don't fucking know. I would like to say Dallas easily covers this, but then you have Thanksgiving, division rival. You want to see something different happen. And maybe Washington makes this a close game. Maybe they win. I don't fucking know. I'm always going to go with the underdog if you give me 2 touchdowns in the NFL. So I'm definitely going to go Commanders on this one.
I'm going to go Commanders due to the spread, but I do think that Dallas is going to get the W.
I think Dallas wins. I like Commanders with the spread because we're just looking at who Dallas has played, right? Okay. So Dallas beat the dog shit out of the Giants with Daniel Jones at quarterback. I don't think
I beat them twice.
Yeah,
they beat the dog shit out of them twice.
They beat the dog shit out of the Jets with Zach Wilson at quarterback. They beat the dog shit out of the Patriots with Mac Jones at quarterback. They got the dog shit beat out of them with Brock Purdy at quarterback. They only barely beat Justin Herbert with the Chargers by 3. They beat the dog shit out of the Rams without Matthew Stafford. They got beat by the Eagles. They beat the dog shit out of Tommy DeVito's Giants again.
So essentially, they only beat up on teams with bad quarterbacks.
Exactly. That's where I'm going. So I think Sam Howell is a better quarterback than a majority of those names that I just railed off there.
Correct.
So I think he has the power to cover the spread. Even if they lose, I still think that this spread is covered tomorrow, 13.5 points. I think this is more like a 6-point ball game. Like this is Brandon Aubrey is going to fuck all our lineups tomorrow because we're not going to have kickers in this, and he's just going to be kicking field goals all day. And it's going to come down to a couple field goals, and they're.
If you're doing showdown, Jay, I'm not. I didn't reserve any showdowns, but I went heavy on the 3-game slate in total.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying he's going to be the one that gets all the scoring for this game, correct. And it's going to cut down. If you're heavy on players from this game, you're going to be like, oh shit, man, where'd all the points go? These guys are. I spent a premium on CeeDee Lamb, and this is going to be. This is going to be Brandon Aubrey's kicking game. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying here.
Correct. So that takes us into the next one. The 49ers at Seattle. We touched base on this throughout all this conversation too. You can kick it off with the injury report.
The main one, doubtful Kenny Walker and questionable right tackle Abraham Lucas for the Seahawks, and Geno with a right elbow injury, and that scares me to death. Like, literally scares me to death. I mean, we saw Drew Lock out there on Sunday.
Is that who it is, Drew Lock?
Drew Lock.
He's not even – okay, yeah, he's probably in here. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are getting a lot of the love, but I don't think, Juwan Jennings – is getting any love. 4% owned on a 3-game slate is fucking insane for somebody that has boomer bust potential. So I think he's definitely one of those lower turd plays that you could see in the Millie Maker as well.
It's a tricep contusion. So he's got a bruise in here, which could be in the rain or the wind and the cold. He's going to be constantly not wanting to get it banged tomorrow. So I could see you talking about going to short, like I said, tight ends here. Even Brad's man JSN tomorrow.
Jackson Smith and the jig, but it makes me like 49ers defense.
I'm real. This 49ers defense, after what I saw do to the Jaguars, this may not be the same. This may be that defense that they started the year out with, and they kind of started to figure it out a little bit better through getting their help. But I know they just lost their safety. They just lost their safety in Telefonga. So that's definitely going to be a blow.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he lost for an ACL for the year. So that definitely hurts a little bit from the pass side. But I just think that front four is even a little bit being
Chase Young in there now.
It could really drive a Drew Lock a little bit more crazier than to say a Geno Smith, who's more used to getting the ball out fairly quickly. So it works against a defense like this team where you have to get the ball out faster. I don't necessarily see that style. See them going more to runs to try to counter that. But again, I just think that D-line tomorrow, man, it may be just too much. So that's why I'm really liking actually Kittle coming back on the other side, just for the fact that they should get additional possessions. Due to the 3 and outs that the defense, 49ers defense should cause. So again, I like Kittle tomorrow, a little bit more chalkier play, but I just like him for that So the 2 touchdown game he's due
You
for.
called it. I mean, you called it. You called it.
So,
You called it again.
He's one of those guys on my list, on my to-do list. You know, he's due for one. He's due for that blowout game, man. They you know, Ayuk could have his, you know, Debo will have his, C-Mac could have his, and you know, it's like every like 4th or 5th game, then it's the Kittle script gets pulled that game, and he goes off. And so
who's the safety fill-in?
He's a rookie.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Jair. His name is Jair Brown. He's a rookie from Penn State. I just looked him up. But they do have Tayshaun Gibson. They do have Tayshaun Gibson. So it's going to be. I feel like this is going to be, instead of Tuafunga plays in the box, he's like a Troy Polamalu type box.
Oh, safety. I know. He looks like him.
Yeah, he was trained by him. So like, but I was just looking that I'm not super concerned with that.
I think the defense should still hold. I think they can kind of find ways to kind of cover for him in the scheme. So then that way he's not really exposed.
I mean, I think especially if this Abraham Lucas, the offensive tackle, right tackle for Seahawks is out tomorrow, they're going to trot somebody else out there, and then that, like you just said, front four, Hargrave, Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, Bosa, Randy Gregory, Chase Young, Cleveland Farrell. I mean, I just feel like they're just going to rotate that just mass of humanity, and then you got Greenlaw and Fred at the linebacker position, and that's where you can just kind of like, all right, Fred kind of play. We can run that more like dime type defense. So or maybe like a 5-2 where you got more linebackers and more defensive linemen, and you're just collapsing the whole time. Especially if we think that like you just said, Phil, we're going to, if Drew Lock's there or this is the windy game, we're going to try to beat the dog shit out of them and make them throw the ball, or make Gino with the bum elbow throw the ball. If I'm a defensive end and I'm just going in every time, I'm going in and bumping his arm. Like, I'm not even trying to hurt him. I'm just bumping him every time. Bumping that tricep. It's cold. It's nighttime. Bumping it. He's not going to be able to launch these joints down the field to Tyler Lockett.
I think he could just play zone against somebody with a fucked up arm and
just bump him the whole time.
Force picks.
So I don't know. I mean, and they run the nickel back too set. So it's they ain't got enough to fill in for that Tuafunga being out. So I'm not super concerned with that. But with that being said, I know that we just went back and forth on Charbonnet, and I know he's extremely high owned, but I just have this feeling deep down inside of me that Pete Carroll is going to try to prove a point. Like, I just feel like Pete Carroll.
I don't think he's the guy that does it though. Like, he's a backup running back for a reason.
He's a rookie.
It's still backup. I mean, he's number 2. He's not number 1, and he's playing against, like, I would probably say the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. I don't care if you're getting the bulk workload or not. We know plenty of teams that have a bulk workload running back that does not split bags, does not pop off any games, because they just don't. They're just not talented. They're not Derrick Henry's. Speaking, that dude's not doing shit neither. So, yeah, exactly. You're expecting some fucking rookie to come in and run the ball against that front line. It's crazy. That's just, I don't see it. For the exposure he has, it's an easy fade for me. If he breaks me, beats me down, it is what it is. But I'm willing to take that risk to be different than everybody else, because I'm not going to put that kind of exposure into a rookie against that type of run defense in some shitty weather. It's, running backs, it's not easy for running backs. Everybody's like, oh, they're going to run the ball because of the weather. I've played running back. It's not easy to hold on to a waterlogged football in pads. And I didn't play at an NFL level where guys are hitting hard as fuck. So can guarantee that ball is going to be hard to hold on to, especially for a rookie against those type of linemen.
Yeah.
It scares
I mean,
the
I
shit out of me.
I don't think you could get to a second. I think you could get to a second or third San Francisco running back tomorrow. I mean, we did see Kyle Juszczyk score.
Yeah, that score, dude. I'm gonna unload on CMC. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm 100% got him in.
But I think you eat the chalk with him.
You have to,
Yeah,
because it's his CMC's game tomorrow to just. I think we're getting to the point where Christian McCaffrey is trying to prove all the doubters, hey, I am totally worth what the Panthers paid me for, and you traded me, and now I'm making you all feel like terrible. And I know that I've been injured and missed the season, but I'm worth it. I mean, I'm just that damn good.
I agree. Spread on that is San Francisco -7. We talked about that too. I'm gonna go ahead and take San Francisco -7 in this one.
Yeah, I'll take 7.
I don't think it gets to 44 points. I feel like this is probably a slower plotting game unless San Francisco just totally comes out and just.
That's what I'm worried about. It's like San Francisco's defense scoring too many fucking points. But other than that, I agree. Offensively, I don't think this game gets to 44 points.
Especially with a banged up Geno. I don't know this, but it's again, all we say is division matchup here. I think that San Francisco wins this handedly tomorrow, just for the simple fact of the matter is San Francisco is finally, I think they found themselves again. They're finally healed up, and they're ready to make this run, prove a point, get into the playoffs, and seal this. I mean, this is division for first place in the division. So they knock off Seattle. I don't think the Rams and the Cardinals are catching them. So they can pretty much kind of chalk the division up if they beat up on the Seahawks. I think you have to play them one more time though. So I think they win tomorrow for sure.
All right. That's slate. Did you want to talk about
yeah, we can
Jets
talk
in Miami?
Yeah, we can just bump over to that since
that's Friday's game. And
yeah.
We're not going to cover it anywhere else. So
yeah, because it'll be it's 41 over under, and they don't even have. I feel like they're giving the Jets defense more credit here than what they should, because they fucking had Miami at 29 this last week, and they only have them 25 points this week. I don't know. I can look at the injuries. Obviously, no.
I mean, I haven't looked at this game yet, but the Jets are fucking horrible against the run. So yeah, this might be. Didn't fucking A-Chain go out last Sunday with an injury, dude? Is he injured in this?
So Salvon Ahmed is on IR. He's done.
A-Chain went out though.
He is questionable. NFL.com is some booty hole right now because they don't even have. I hate that they don't ever fucking update their shit properly.
Well, I mean, I think this is going to be a pound the ball type game.
I think that we see the emergence of Jeff Wilson on Friday, just because I feel like
he already said that. I think I saw that. Zach Wilson is being benched.
No, I said Jeff Wilson, the running back from Miami.
Oh,
with no Ahmed, but Wilson's bench. He's third. They moved him to the bottom of the depth chart.
Yeah, Tim
Boyle is starting. I was watching the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and
why do you think Jeff Wilson is going to do something over Mostert?
No, I think that because they get out in front, and they want Mostert healthy, and A-Chain is he is questionable. He's not confirmed that he's gonna play. He is questionable. Even Reek is questionable. Mostert's questionable. A-Chain's questionable.
It's a hard game to cover this early in the week.
Yeah, and I know that
it makes it a
we
little funky with the way it falls, but based off of the injury report, I would say you might want to try to get a little different, maybe. I really like Braxton Berrios coming back this week. He's been kind of quiet last couple of weeks, but just given the injuries, and also the way the game flow may work, they could potentially not necessarily pull starters, but start to give more of the other guys a little bit more reps, like Cody was saying. I actually really, really like the Miami defense here. If you're kind of looking for a defense throughout the week,
if they're
Jalen
available, you need to have
Ramsey,
them.
Howard, Phillips, and versus QB that's hasn't
Baker.
played a lot. That's like red meat, man. And so that's how you have to look at it from a fantasy perspective. That's the type of defenses you want to go ahead and take your chance on if you don't have sort of a set defense, if you don't have a 49ers. Of course, you want to get chalky, go your Hills, go your Waddles if they're playing. But, maybe come back with a Conklin, again, tight end's best friend on the Jersey side. If you're kind of looking for somebody maybe a little different. But again, it's a little tough to kind of determine it just a little bit further out without the proper injury report analysis from it all. But again, you can't go wrong with those players. Maybe they get Garrett Wilson also going tomorrow, whereas Wilson couldn't get him. Zach Wilson couldn't get him tomorrow.
I was like I said, I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and Aaron Rodgers is always on there with his big buddies with AJ Hawk.
Because they pay him. He gets paid as well.
Yeah, so he was in rehab in the rehab. So he was in the rehab, and he was talking, and he likes Tim Boyle because Tim Boyle was with him with Nathaniel Hackett in Green Bay, and Tim Boyle is like not started a lot of games though. Like he's thrown more interceptions in the games he had or played in. Thrown more interceptions in the games he's played in that he has thrown completions. So I do like the Miami defense here. I was looking. There's no ownership projections as of yet. I feel like this is kind of like we go into a normal Thursday night where there's not a lot of projections where we can't really see it. But this is going to be a Breece Hall over the fucking top owned game. Just for the simple fact of the matter is they got to get the ball going somewhere, and it's going to be Breece Hall. That's just it. Breece Hall. And then, like I just said, Mostert, A-Chain, both were limited on practice on today. So we'll hear more. And then Reek was limited in practice also with that injury we saw him go out with the other day. So I don't know, man. This is I hate that this game is on Black Friday. Like we thought this was when this schedule was made, we thought this was going to be an Aaron Rodgers game for sure. This was going to be an Aaron Rodgers game. I think the Jets need to make this a good game and possibly try to pull off a win, upset, division rivalry, fluke, so Aaron Rodgers can come back. If they don't win this and they get another ass whooping handed to them, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm just like, guys, I'm kind of like gonna take my time, even though I'm making the greatest progress ever. But I don't know. Aaron Rodgers sees something in this Tim Boyle dude. It seems like he didn't see in fucking Zach Wilson. I can tell you that because listening to him talk, he was like, yeah, he's learned this and he's been behind me doing this and this and this. And I was like, okay, I don't know if you like touting him just because you're trying to give him like confidence going into this game, or you really thought Zach Wilson was dog shit and you're trying to stiff arm him as far away as you can from you because it's going to bring you down. I don't know. But I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough game. I'm going to rock mine off of exposures. I don't have those yet. But I do know Jets are exposable to the run, and Miami's very vicious with the run with multiple running backs. So I won earlier in the season rostering 2 running backs from Miami in the same lineup that took first place. Yeah. If A-Chain is a healthy scratch, I could definitely see that happening again.
I was thinking about it because we just saw James Cook eat against the Jets this last week when they finally turned him loose. And he went like 17 attempts for 73 yards rushing, and then he went 3 for 4 for 29 yards and a TD receiving. That scream, if Mostert is playing, that screams Raheem Mostert. It just screams that. Like it just, and of course, obviously we know that Reek is going to get his. I mean, that is what it is. But I think he's better. He's faster than Sauce, and he's going to get down the field and work those underneath routes and stuff. But I don't know. It's this game is just could be. I can tell you one person I'm not playing for the Dolphins, and I'll take that shit to my grave. Is fucking Jason Sanders, their kicker. I watched him miss shit on Sunday, then I'm like, dude, you're an NFL kicker, and you're on the Dolphins. Like I had so much faith in you before in one part of my life, and now I'm like, dude, get out of here. Like let me go pick up the running back. Let me ask Houston if Dare Ungwale, the running back that kicks frickin' fucking field goals, can kick a field goal because you can't kick shit.
Agreed.
It's bad. So, but I guess we can kind of hang it up at that.
I do like Miami to win this one. I'm not sure exactly what the spread is, but I do like, of course, the Miami to take this one. I just think there's too many factors going against the right now. It's just with the new starting quarterback. Offense never really got off the ground this year at all. It's just hard to see them being able to do enough offensively against a really good overall team, both offense and defense, and the Miami Dolphins.
I think 9.5 is too damn low.
I do too. I think
they're giving fucking them too much credit. They're giving them too much credit. I mean, that's just like telling them, oh yeah, that's a touchdown and it's not even a field goal. The damn Bills just beat them by 26. Like that defense is dead and buried. Like 9.5 points. If that doesn't move tomorrow, it's retarded. And 9.5 is just not enough. So, but guess if nobody has questions, I know we got a couple people hanging out here. Nobody's got questions. We want you guys to have a happy Thanksgiving.
Correct. Yeah.
Hang out with your friends and family and eat some. Okay, you guys call it stuffing or dressing? I need to have this debate.
Stuffing.
Stuffing for me.
Oh God, you people are weird. It's called dressing, guys.
It's definitely called stuffing.
I ain't stuffing shit in nothing. That's
you
disgusting.
Stuff it in the turkey and you cook it.
No, you don't. You cook it in a pan.
I mean, my parents cook it in a pan, but that's why it called stuffing is because you would cook it, you stuff the turkey. Yeah, I know you've seen Scary Movie where he stuffs the shit out of it.
Yeah, they was talking about it today. I was watching something. They were calling it stuffing, and I was like, "No, sir, that's not what it's called. It's called dressing." I'm actually going to go make some when I get done with this. So, yeah. Again, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. And
let's win this fucking million tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, take ham and chicken and turkey and mashed taters. And what's the best side then? What's the best side? What's your favorite side, Phil?
Ham? Is that a side or not?
That's a main. I'm not a ham or a turkey. Like, what's your favorite side?
Mashed potatoes.
What about yours, Brad?
Macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese. Oh, okay. All right.
Is it fried macaroni and cheese or what? I gotta know.
Well, usually someone in the family with a long resume and putting it together. You don't just trust macaroni and cheese with anybody. Not on Thanksgiving, on a regular day, okay, but I'm serious about it on Thanksgiving. If I look at it and it don't have that extra cheese on top, and you can tell that mama kind of been slow cooking it and putting their fist in it all day. I don't want nothing to do with it. Get it away from me. I need that mama's love cooking on Thanksgiving, man. If it don't look like you ain't put your soul into it, get it away from me on Thanksgiving. But please, everybody, have a safe Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family. Tell somebody that you're grateful for them. It always makes their day.
Yes. And, guys, tell Mama Pam and Mama Keel and all the babies happy Thanksgiving from me. And
I got you.
And we'll catch you guys all on Saturday. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, y'all. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.